It's van time, and today I'm going to review the new Kia Carnival. Has Kia finally made minivans cool? Let's find out. But first, a Kia Carnival montage. Remember the secret word from the TV show Pee-wee's Playhouse? If anyone said the secret word, everyone would scream and shout. Now, according to Kia, today's secret word is minivan. Kia styled their new Carnival MPV to give off the vibe of an SUV, even though it's really a minivan. Oh, sorry, that was the secret word, wasn't it? Anyway, the 2022 Carnival is an MPV, or a multi-purpose vehicle, as Kia says. It's definitely not a minivan. Okay, enough of that. Minivan, minivan, minivan. Okay, we're good. Minivans aren't widely seen as cool, and Kia is trying their darndest to flip the script. Just call it something else and people will buy it, right? Well, they've done a whole lot more than just refer to it by a different description. This thing looks fantastic. Will Kia finally convince people that minivans are actually cool? Is it finally van time? The base Carnival starts at just over $32,000, and what we have here is the absolute top trim SX Prestige. Now this SX Prestige apparently knows I'm talking about it because it just locked itself. But anyway, this SX Prestige comes in at just over $46,000. It's quite a fancy MPV, or minivan. You get this special grille on the SX and above, which looks fantastic. And up front, we've got the new Kia logo. The SX Prestige gives you full LED headlights, LED taillights. The only thing I really don't like on the back are how low the turn signals are. If you're sitting right behind the Carnival at a stoplight, you might not see them. The SX and above get a roof rack, and this SX Prestige gets 19-inch wheels in black only. Other trims have smaller 17-inch wheels. It's got 6.8 inches of ground clearance and no all-wheel drive, so it's not really that great if you do need to take this thing off pavement, but most of you probably aren't doing that. I really like the overall shape of this minivan. It's got very clean and unfussy lines. This textured aluminum accent piece on the side breaks up the design and makes it look a touch sportier. The only real downside to the design is that sliding door track isn't hidden like it is on other minivans. Overall, this thing looks fantastic for a minivan, and yes, it still does look like a minivan, but there are some SUV-like qualities. Now, all trims get dual power sliding doors standard, and if you stand here for about 3 seconds, it's got this smart feature which will automatically open the door for you without touching it, as long as you got the key fob on your person. That's pretty cool. Inside this SX Prestige, we've got real leather VIP lounge seats, which I think this color goes really nicely with my dad shorts. But these seats are pretty awesome because they've got a recline feature. Oh, that's pretty nice. That is super comfortable. And built-in ottoman, which doesn't really work for me because I'm a little bit too tall. I don't think I can get this seat back far enough. Let's see. Yeah, if you're really tall, it may not work out the greatest, but it's a cool feature, but I'm not sure how often I would use that. There's loads of features. It's got USB ports, it's got lots of cup holders, sunshades, and this SX Premium gets dual sunroofs. Fancy. The latch anchors are quite easy to get to. It's easy to install a baby seat in here. Some things don't look all that premium in the back, some chintzy plastics, and sort of airport shuttle van style rear vents, and climate controls are only on one side, which is weird. And not much in the way of storage, some seat pockets, and that's pretty much it. And if you like this top trim and you want a seat 8 instead of 7, you can't. If you want a bit more configuration, you'll have to opt for a lower trim. With this 7-seater, there is a fair amount of flexibility with the seating arrangements. You can go forward and back, and you can actually go side to side. But you can't really get it forward enough to provide easy access to that third row. Sure, you could sit here and fold the thing over and wait a couple hours for this thing to fold. And even then, you can kind of get through there. Maybe it'd be a little bit easier for a kid to get back there. But these seats really should slide a whole lot more forward to be able to get back there. So it's much easier to go through the center. In the third row, it's decently comfortable back here. I'm 6'3", and I have an okay amount of headroom. These seats can recline, which is nice. You got really big headrests, and okay amount of legroom if this seat is pushed up a little bit. It does have a little bit less legroom back here than the minivan competition. But this third row is going to be more comfortable than what you would find in most 3-row SUVs. Back here we do have USB ports, vents, sunshades, and latch anchors, but it would certainly be a bit hard to get a car seat all the way back here. SX trims and above get dual rear entertainment displays with apps for Netflix, YouTube, Twitch, and even Pinkfong in case you want to hear Baby Shark 200 more times in a row. It's got HDMI and USB inputs, and you can also mirror your wireless devices. There's no built-in Wi-Fi, so you'll have to tether your phone to access things like Netflix or YouTube. I also wanted the rear entertainment audio to route through the car stereo speakers for our road trip, but after about 30 minutes, we still couldn't figure it out. These screens just look like they're tacked on aftermarket units, and they're positioned in such a way where kids climbing into the van will hit their head on it, or if they're trying to get into a car seat like this, they'll crack their head on it, or they might catch a backpack on it. I just worry about the long-term reliability of these things. Now out in the back, EX trims and above get the smart power lift gate. If you stand here for 3 seconds or more, it will open for you, which is a pretty cool feature. Cargo space behind the third row is where the Carnival leads the pack. Just over 40 cubic feet of space back here. Compare that to about 33 for the competition. But we have more space back here mainly because the Carnival's third row legroom is smaller than the competition. There's some cool storage cubbies here on the side. The third row easily folds into the floor. And now we have 86 cubic feet of space with those seats folded down, which is quite a bit more than the Sienna, but less than the Odyssey and the Pacifica. One thing to note is that those second row lounge chairs are not removable. Lower trims do have removable second rows, and when removed, you've got 145 cubic feet of space, which is massive. It's more than a Chevy Suburban. Up front, the first thing that you'll notice on this SX Premium are these 2 screens. One in front of the driver and the infotainment screen to the right. It's very Mercedes-like. And keep in mind, only the top trim SX Premium gets this screen. The overall design in here is quite attractive with some nice materials, metal trim and buttons, contrast stitching, slim air vents, and soft touch materials in the important places. The base infotainment is an 8-inch unit, but this larger system looks and works great. EX and above get the larger infotainment screen with navigation, and all trims get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It works great, it's very responsive and easy to use. And very important, we've got an actual physical volume knob, which I appreciate. We've also got this very cool passenger view feature, which allows you to see the second and third rows by pressing this button. SX trims and above get a 360 view camera. The 3-zone climate control is really easy to use. Down here, you've got a traditional shifter, wireless phone charger, and USB ports. In terms of storage up here, it seems a little bit less useful than the Toyota Sienna. The center console is quite a bit smaller, and there's no space under the shifter like there is in the Sienna. One other small demerit, there's just gloss black everywhere. It looks fantastic when it's clean, but it does pick up dust and fingerprints really easily. So I've driven the Carnival a few hundred miles so far, around town, on the freeway, and on winding back roads like this one. Now, one of the first things that I noticed and that I really appreciated about the Carnival was the really good visibility all around. Out the front, you've got this low dashboard, so it gives you a pretty commanding view of the road. The belt line is quite low, so visibility out the side is really good. And even out the back, it's really good. Quite a bit better than the Sienna that I just tested. Now, in terms of ride, it's quite relaxed. It's soft, it's pillowy, it's kind of floaty. These tires have quite a bit of sidewall, so it does soak up a fair amount of the bumps, which I think all of your passengers are going to appreciate. Now, under the hood is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6, makes 290 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. This is actually the most powerful engine in the minivan segment in the US, at least in terms of horsepower. And that's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. And in terms of power, there's no shortage of it. I don't think you'll ever really be caught in a situation where you feel like this thing can't keep up. Passing on the freeway is really easy. It feels similar to what you'd get in the Honda Odyssey or Chrysler Pacifica. but it does feel quite a bit more potent than the hybrid-only Sienna. Now this Carnival sends all that power through the front wheels, and that is a fair amount of power to go through just the front wheels. If you mash it really hard when it's wet, yeah, you'll get some tire spin, but in general, it launches without much fuss. So if you wanted a Carnival with all-wheel drive, sorry, that's not an option. At least not yet. I'm not sure if they'll add it at some point in the future. So if you live in a northern climate and you want a bit more sure-footedness in the snow, you'll probably have to opt for something like a Sienna. Now, if you care about things like 0 to 60 times, this can do it in about 7 seconds, which is pretty good for a minivan. And it's also rated to tow 3,500 pounds, which is pretty typical for the minivan segment. Now, in terms of safety tech, one of the things that I really love about the Carnival, at least this SX Premium that has the screen in front of me, is when you use the turn signals, your blind spots are shown right here on the screen in front of you. At first I thought it was a little bit gimmicky, but after using it a bunch of times, it's actually really quite useful. Now, even though the lower trims don't get that, you still get a pretty full-featured list of standard safety tech. On the freeway, the lane keep assist is quite good. It keeps you in your lane without aggressively pulling you in one direction or the other. And it doesn't bounce around between the lines like I found that the Sienna did. Now, when it comes to fuel economy, that's where you might be let down just a bit. This thing gets 19 miles per gallon in the city and 26 in the highway, which for a V6 minivan actually isn't all that bad. But when you compare it to that 36 miles per gallon you can get in the Sienna, this feels a little bit dismal. And with a pretty good mix of city driving, back road driving, and freeway driving, I've only been able to muster 19 miles per gallon so far. But as I've mentioned in other videos, my right foot often tends to be a little bit heavier than average, so you might get better mileage than I do. Okay, so what does all of this cost you? This top trim SX Prestige comes in at $46,100. If you want to save a bunch of money, the base LX starts at just over 32 grand. That's a pretty good value as it comes with a ton of standard features. Now, depending on how you look at it, competition for this vehicle could include large 3-row crossovers like the Kia Telluride or the Chevy Traverse. But the most direct competition is obviously the Toyota Sienna, Honda Odyssey, and the Chrysler Pacifica. The Honda Odyssey starts at about the same price, interior flexibility and functionality is about the same, but the Kia does have a nicer looking interior with better infotainment. The Toyota Sienna starts at over 2 grand more than the Kia, but the hybrid Toyota slays the Kia in terms of fuel economy. The Sienna is also available with all-wheel drive. The Sienna doesn't have nearly as much power, but the difference in things like 0 to 60 time aren't all that drastic. Though if you want to bump up to the absolute top trim, this SX Prestige is quite a bit cheaper than the top trim Sienna Platinum. The Chrysler has available stow and go seating, which is nice, but those second row seats aren't as comfortable as the Kia. The Chrysler starting price is also much higher, but with the available plug-in hybrid tech in the Pacifica, the miles per gallon on the Kia just doesn't come close. So let's say you've finally come around to the idea that minivans are actually cool, or at least they're often a more practical family vehicle than an SUV. Should you buy a Carnival? My only complaint is the lack of choice when it comes to the drivetrain. If you live in a snowy climate and all-wheel drive is a must, this Kia might not be the best match. And if gas mileage is a concern, the Sienna and Pacifica hybrids are probably a better choice. But this Carnival is quite clearly the best looking minivan, MPV on the market today. With the Carnival, Kia might finally convince buyers that minivans are actually better than SUVs, even if Kia is too afraid to call this excellent family vehicle a van. Are you in the market for a 3-row family vehicle? If so, what would you go for? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like this video and you'd like to see more like it, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you can get notified of all my new car reviews, used car reviews, travel stories, and updates on my fleet of mostly broken and obscure 1980s and 1990s cars. If you'd like to help out the show and help me make more videos like this, please consider buying a t-shirt at helloroad.tv/shop. I've got a lot of designs to choose from, or consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/helloroad. You can get early access to my videos and more. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.